What is up, everybody? Mark on the mic, my good friend Ryan Muckenhirn across from me, and this is a new product alert. Ryan, this is more on, I guess, the tech side, I would say. Something that I would think you should be incredibly proud of, a nice little feather in your cap. We, on the podcast here and throughout Vortex, we use your vast knowledge of outdoor related things, hunting related things, shooting related things. And now we've wrapped that up into Muck-E AI Technology. Make sure I get that right. In your rifle scope. So it's a really cool feature. What are your initial thoughts on this?
Well, it's a very interesting project, and you know, for anybody who knows me personally, you know that I'm fairly tech illiterate.
You're very technical.
Yeah, but like digital products, even the podcast, and I tell this to folks all the time. Like I didn't know what a podcast was when you asked me to come on the first one.
Right, and here we are. Look at us.
I didn't know how they worked. I thought it was something I had to buy. You said no, dummy, just talking to the microphone and whatever. But
it is actually. They're actually about. They're pretty reasonable. $10 a pop. Ryan, we've done nearly 1,000. So your little back taxes
I owe you.
Going
That's
on.
as good as cash. So when it was a collaborative effort between marketing and new product development, I had approached me about it. And again, understand how not smart I am about these kinds of things.
Well, I also want to get into, they approached you about it, but when? Because this takes time.
It's been several years now. And it was actually, the podcast was a huge tool that was leveraged using AI technology to extract, I think they call it like behavioral modeling for the system. So it pulls out information that we've talked about and it trains this model.
Well, exactly. The nice thing is, and what I think is really cool about all this tech, we didn't have to reinvent the wheel like, oh, you know all these things. Now we have to input these into I mean, you have to input it, but like a lot of it was existing because we've created it already.
Yep. So, yes, correct. So we extract what we could out of that. And then there was, and my hat is off to both teams respectively, for putting together like the Q&A portion of the model learning program, where they would present a question, I would answer it. That would then get fed into the learning program. And that question might be asked in I'm going to make up a number, 50 different ways.
Wow.
Just a little bit of verbiage tweaking, how the question was asked, where the question was in relation to a sentence, a paragraph, a chapter, et cetera, and then just keep feeding into it. And it did. It took several years to do, and it was laborious and it's sometimes kind of monotonous. And then the proofreading of it, if you will. So like once that model is fed and once that model learns to then prompt it questions, it then spit out answers. And then check for accuracy. And I mean, it was a thing, and it's still a thing. It's ever learning, ever growing, ever going forward.
I mean, that's the thing that's really cool about all this AI stuff is it is growing, evolving, dare I say learning.
Yep.
It's like a learning machine. Really cool, a little bit spooky at the same time.
It is a little weird. And especially the voice thing, the voice module, I think is what I don't like that. It's kind of strange. I don't like to hear myself talk.
Right.
And so it's weird to have like a conversation with it and it answers back.
Well, the podcast and this project has to be quite the pickle for you then if you don't like to hear your voice.
Yeah, it is. Because then I have to go back into it, like lift the hood up and tweak it, listen to it, et cetera. But like I said, thankfully, those two teams, a lot of smart people on there, and they know how to rearrange your wires. And
so the information that they were able to, I guess, input from the recordings that we've created here, and then that merged with, for lack of a better term, the question answer portion. Did they just kind of Are you kind of bridging gaps in both ways then?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're also taking like historical questions that have been asked to us, right? So like, pick your thing. What red dot do you recommend that I run on a Springfield Hellcat? Excuse me, the little tiny pistol. It's like, oh, well, in that case, it would be the Defender CCW. For defensive pistols, generally we recommend a 6 MOA dot. We have included fasteners in the package. So we're taking questions like that have been asked either like on our website or just user to customer, et cetera, or whatever, and putting that in place. But again, you have to do that in many different iterations so that the model can identify like what is the spirit of the question and what is the best answer. Where it gets really tricky is when you start, like I've been known to contradict myself from time to time.
It can happen.
I get on an idea train and then I'm proven wrong.
Well, and also we learn things over time.
Yeah, well, yeah.
There might be something that I thought was gospel, we'll say 10 years ago.
Sure.
Okay, I'm going to take something that I feel like I've learned over time and just use it as an example. As a kid, people say, oh, you need to shoot a bear right through the shoulders and break them down. Now, you'll hear a lot of people say like, oh, you want to shoot a black bear middle. I split the difference a little bit.
Shade a little forward.
I just shade, maybe 4 to 6 inches behind the shoulder, something like that. That would be, and I'm saying that's like broadside shot, right? But that's something that I would have adhered to, subscribed to many years ago. Something that I would have passed on as information.
Yep.
But now I think differently.
Yeah.
So
sussing that out, whereas I had an idea about a product or an application or use thereof, same thing to your point, like early on in my career, and then coming back on it and be like, no, that's not best practice anymore. It was a ton of data to sort through. I mean, 12 to 18 hour work days of just going through that.
That's incredible. Were you kind of touched on this, and I think I know where you were going here. Were you able to leverage written responses?
Yeah.
Because you've had a bazillion communications with customers, like you're saying. So like this red dot, specifics here. I mean, heck, you even have the question and how it was asked to go off of, which is another asset to leverage. This is how our customers are asking this question. This is the correct answer.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. But, one of the cooler parts was, I call it racing the model. So panel folks are going to ask me questions. They're also going to ask the model the same questions. We're separate. We're not like in the same room.
Okay.
And then they're auditing accuracies of either and then time, right? So if there's one thing that I'm not spectacular about is time management. I get a little busy sometimes and things get shuffled around a little bit. Whereas the model, like that, right? Model doesn't sleep. Model doesn't need food. It just whenever. And so it was fun for me. That was a good learning experience for me. That was a good challenge for me to race it and see how it would do it and in what kind of time and with what kind of accuracy. So it's forced me to be sharp because I am still continually feeding the model.
What did you guys see during that exercise as far as same answer or different answers?
For the most part, same. One thing it doesn't have is a lot of, I don't want to use the word patience because that's not correct. It like a person to a person can see or hear nonverbal cues. So like if you and I are having a face-to-face conversation, I can see, the curiosity on your face, your eyebrows move up and down, your lips purse a little bit, you get uncomfortable, and
or I'm understanding something or not understanding
correct,
something.
Yep.
Tone.
Yep.
You have tone.
Yep. So that's your inflection, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if there's one shortcoming on AI, and like if you see the movie iRobot, one of those models has the ability to see, detect, and kind of play with empathy a little bit, if you will, or figure out human emotion and tie that in. We're not quite there yet. So sometimes the answers are a little cut and dry,
Sure. Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, technically.
Yeah, correct. Exactly. And so some of the panel folks thought it was maybe a little brash. Factual information, correct. Maybe
Which, end of the day,
yeah, maybe the delivery was a little terse. And they thought the same for me too. If they were asking me questions about like particular cartridges that I would recommend for a given hunt. Like, so here's an example. I'm going on a mule deer hunt. I'm looking for, a really flat shooting, hard hitting cartridge. Do you recommend, 270 or 7mm Remington Magnum? And for me, that's like a whatever's worse than a dichotomy. That is that question. Like these two cartridges in particular, very challenging for me to pick one. And so I said, either would get the job done, but for reputation's sake, maybe you should consider something different altogether. Right?
Either will get the job done, but also neither.
Correct. Yeah. And
those are great cartridges.
Not for me, but fine cartridges. And so I was terse in some of my answers too. And that plays.
Where did you have to? Maybe you didn't. We have our personal biases.
Sure.
Right. So where sometimes founded, sometimes somewhat arbitrary, or what could be considered arbitrary.
Sure.
How did you blend that into your answers? Were you taking that into consideration, or just like, nope, this is Mucky AI? I will say this: when I first heard about this project, I said, well, why don't we call it Muck-E AI?
Yeah, you were a little miffed,
and they said no.
Yeah, you were a little miffed, and I'm glad, just from friend to friend, we were able to work through that. And like
you were the right guy for the job.
Yeah, all jokes aside, I mean, Mark was pretty distant for a little while, about a year and a quarter.
Oh,
so.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, I would say so. We play the tape back, and the personal bias things. Like, I don't arrive at a statement like that without some founding in it, right? And so I have to unpack, like, well, is that statement founded? And the answer is yeah, it's founded. Like that's the output you're going to get.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. You seem pretty opinionated on this.
No. I try not to be. It's evolving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's evolving. Mucky AI currently in all Vortex rifle scopes, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Or available, right?
Yep.
Available models. Okay, I don't want to get ahead, but it just seems like the logical next step to me. Like, would we see this in other optics as well?
Oh, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think so.
I don't want to, like...
We're not putting the
I don't want to
before the
cart
horse.
before the horse. I don't want to speak for the product development team. Not my chair, not my problem. But it just seems logical to me.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah. Did we miss anything? I mean, we've talked a lot about, the who, what, where, when, why. But, I mean, essentially, this is putting you, whether somebody's at the range, whether they're in the field hunting, and it's putting you in their optic to be able to use as a resource.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yep.
24/7.
Yes.
That's really cool.
It is pretty neat. It's very novel.
I hope this doesn't take away from the podcast listens, because I need those.
That metric is important.
Yeah.
I don't think it will.
You think there's room for two?
I think so. I think we're going to probably leverage you more. I'm sorry. When you say room for two, you mean
room for two, like the podcast and the Mucky AI in the scopes.
Oh yeah. I think so. I'd hope so. Yeah.
Maybe they could include me though down the road. Like we could bicker about, like somebody asks a question and we bicker about it. A couple old hens.
Couple of categories, if you will, that I'm not super strong on. Golf, which you're Mark,
I've help you there.
I've seen some pretty spectacular chip shots out of you. Selections of the proper irons. And I know that's something that you practice off hours. There's video footage of it, actually.
Occasionally.
Yeah. And birding, I know you're a little bit stronger on that than I am, which will be a good thing. And I mean, who knows what product category that we would get into next? Fishing, I doubt. But maybe down the road.
Of any of those things that you just mentioned, fishing would be, and I'm not expert. I've been getting amped up about. I've been getting really amped up about getting back into fishing more. For some reason, these last couple of years, I'm just like, I miss that. I need to go do these things more. There's only so much time, though.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know.
I mean, well, certainly not going to because we have the architecture, right? So,
I mean, that's the big thing.
Yeah,
you can take, like you said, the architecture, insert topic, insert expert.
Yep.
Repeat.
Yeah.
So that's pretty neat.
So in the event, off chance, we get into fishing, because I don't know that that's that big a deal. I mean, honestly.
Are you trying to be hurtful?
No, I mean, again, it's not something I understand. I mean, and especially like the, what's the kind you do?
I do all kinds of fishing.
Yeah, the one you really like.
I like them all.
The one with the...
I would say I shade towards salmon, trout, steelhead fishing, but I am very equal opportunity when it comes to
the one where you
warm water species,
Yeah.
smallmouth bass, largemouth bass.
The one where you catch it on the thing.
Fly fishing.
Yeah, that's the one. And then you let it go.
Sometimes.
Yeah, you make it late. I mean, it's, that's the hard part for me. And not that I, own the keys to the castle on what we choose to do with that, but it'd be tough. It'd be a tough one for me. But maybe, I mean, if the market calls for it, which I don't know.
Well, now
it's 2025.
Now we are being us, and no, we don't need any of this that we're doing right now integrated into the tech, because it's just gonna muddy anything that somebody was trying to get out of it. Did we miss anything, Ryan, with this? I mean, what I would say, like, monumental, game-changing tech?
No, couldn't come at a better time.
Yeah. Well, there you have it, buddy. Buddy, you're my buddy. There you have it, everybody. Mucky AI Technology, now available
today
in your Vortex rifle scopes.
Yeah.
Today, starting today. This is the launch, by the way. We got to be part of the product launch schedule.
I know.
Well, you've been part of it for this whole time. Very cool stuff. The future is here. The future is now. What a wild time to be alive. Everybody, check it out. We'll catch you on the next one.
See ya.
Bye.